Top of the afternoon to you here from Lake Augusta Stadium in Augusta, Georgia. The Sunday, last day of the Masters weekend for Augusta, and the Jags look to rearrange their fortunes off of a two-game snafu where their opponents, USC Aiken, the Pacers, have scored a total of 29 runs in the first two games. They look to the Jags to rearrange their fortunes and salvage the rubber match of the border war between the Pacers and the Jags. While we have you here for a second, let's look at some of the totals around the Peach Belt Conference from last night. Georgia College wrangled in a victory over Lander 9-3. Couple of games will anchor in as doubleheaders today with Columbus State and UNC Pembroke postponed, as well as, UNC Pembroke and Francis Marion postponed. And then you also had, looking to do a double dip today, Georgia Southwestern and Columbus State. The rest of the final for yesterday has Young Harris edging out North Georgia 5-4, and that brings us up into today's slate of ball games, which we will tell you about the finals and where those games are at in the post-game wrap-up. But as we speak right now, Matt Meeks will be on the bump for the Jags, facing off against this vaunted USC Aiken Pacer lineup, and we will be back with first pitch right after this. It'll be a tough sled for the Pacers to navigate as Matt Meeks is on the hill for the Jags. He has pitched a couple of dandy of some ball games here for the Jags. And he's pitched some quality starts and has gone the distance in a couple of the games he has started in. But as we mentioned before, Young Harris edged out North Georgia in a close affair, 5-4, and then Georgia College at the top of the Peach Belt Conference took care of Lander 9-3 and brought out the whooping sticks for Lander. That is the scores from yesterday, with a couple of postponements yesterday, as we mentioned. between UNC Pembroke and Francis Marion scheduled for a double dip today, and also Georgia Southwestern and Columbus State looking to anchor into as well. I'm Blake Collins alongside Robert Ambrose, looking to navigate you through the rubber match between USC Aiken Pacers and the Augusta Jags in this cross-border war. And the first guy to battle here against Matt Meeks is no stranger to leading off and setting the table for the UNC or USC Aiken Pacers in Jose Bonilla. He has been on base numerous times in this series.
And not only that, he has made history over the last 2 days. It's very rare to see a player bat twice in back-to-back innings, or bat at least once in back-to-back innings. He's hit in back-to-back innings 3 times in the last 2 games, including the first 3 innings of each of the last 2 games, Friday and Saturday. That just shows you just how good the offense has been and how the Jaguars' defense has just really struggled to get outs against the Pacers. And that's how he's gotten so many opportunities.
They will heavily rely on Matt Meeks to shut down this high vaunted offense, but Bonilla gets it started off the right foot for the Pacers as he stretches what would be a single into a sliding double, getting his foot on second base. Beautiful slide with the front foot coming up and the leg sliding in, touching the bag as Dalton Weeks comes to the plate, and Mr. Weeks had himself a game yesterday, Robert.
Yeah, he's the set number 2 man in the Peach Belt Conference in home runs, and he had a big grand slam home run in the second inning of yesterday's game when he came up to the plate. The Pacers led 2-1. It was a close game at that point, and then it became 6-1 after the grand slam. It was all Pacers from really then on in a 15-1 victory over the Jaguars.
29 runs in 2 games for the Pacers, and Meeks looks to silence this offense today. Weeks off a fastball parlays that one foul off to the right. Splitter in the dirt from Meeks, and a phenomenal stop by veteran catcher Brent Alford behind the plate, not allowing the speedy Bonilla to advance to third. And that ball is tattooed down the left field line into left field, and just like that, 2 batters into the ball game. The Pacers post their first run of the game off of 2 doubles. Bonilla and Weeks set this Sunday affair off right for the Pacers.
Yeah, back-to-back doubles, and so far in this game, the Pacers really love the left side, as that one was down the left field line, and he was just able to get it to stay fair. It's a game of inches in that sense. And Bonilla also similarly getting a line drive double to left field as well.
Ball was up a little bit in the zone, and Weeks got his bat head around on it and just pulled it into left field. And now you'll see the catcher calling the pitches behind the plate. Brian Pereira up at the dish for the Pacers.
Pereira, similar to Meeks, also homered in yesterday's game. He had a solo shot in the first inning. That was what put the Pacers on the board for the first time. Jaguars answered that in the bottom of the inning, tied the game at 1, but that was as close as they would get.
Jags have to shut the door here to remain in this game and not let it get too far out of hand, as they have not acquired an out in the inning off of 2 rapid doubles here to start off the game. And right off the bat, you can tell that the approach for the Pacers is just going with the pitches, not trying to do too much with the baseball, not overswinging, just putting good aluminum on it and letting the ball ride. As Meeks fires a fastball outside. Ferrer's trying to get his timing back up and running and fouls one back off on to Millage Road. Meeks wheels and deal. Started to. Stepped off at the last second. For Meeks looking back. Weeks second. And then that ball's catapulted into right field. Harrison Moore has a beat on it, and his strong arm is shown off as Weeks maneuvers over to third base. As the first out is put a squeeze on by Harrison Moore out in right field. So some productive ABs to start out the game for the Pacers. And Meeks' next challenge will be Niles Goings. It's the first chance we have a chance to see Niles Goings play and start off again here at Lake Olmsted Stadium in this series. As that ball shoots across the outside corner. And Goings is rapidly in a 0-ball and 2-strike count. Meeks pressures Goings inside with that pitch, trying to get Goings to turn on the baseball and hit a sharp grounder. You would think, Robert, the name of the game here for the Jags and Meeks is to contain that runner on third base.
Well, absolutely, and surprisingly, the infield is not in at all with one out and the runner on third, first and second base open. So it shows you the Jaguars are not really worried about that. They're just worried about getting the easy outs at this point.
And that ball skied out to short. Maddox moves over to his right a couple of steps and puts kibosh on the second out.
And in that case, it didn't really matter if they were in as long as the fly ball stays in the infield. And there was no way Weeks would try and go on that one.
Too close a call at home plate for him to test out the arm of Maddox just beyond the outfield grass.
Meeks is the team leader on the Jaguars in ERA by 0.7 points ahead of the second place ERA guy on the Jaguars. As an ERA of 3.46 on the season.
Not too shabby of an ERA coming into the final month of the season.
Correction, his ERA is 3.42. This is his 9th start of the year.
As long as you can keep it in the 3 range, especially this late into the season, you're doing a dandy of a job out on the mound, and he's doing that right now, ahead in the count here. 0 balls and 2 strikes, carving up Connor Durden. Connor gets the best of him, though, finds a hole, and cements the Pacers' second run into the ball game as Weeks trots home. He had a pretty good hole to the right of second, where both Maddox and Robertson were converging on the ball. Robertson dives to keep the ball going into the outfield. So good play by Robertson to hold Durden to a single.
And good smart hitting by Durden, scouting out where the fielders were positioned, and is able to put the ball exactly where it would be a tough play for the Jaguars, and to make Robertson have to go a long ways for the ball and no chance to make the play because of the position.
Yeah, the Jaguars had good positioning out there, but just a squibble off the bat in no man's land, because it was in a position to where neither Maddox or Robertson could get to it in time. Glorious day for baseball. It's a little bit overcast in the sky, but the sun is out, and it's a good day to wrap up a huge series.
Well, what a difference several days can make. Friday, it was a beautiful night for baseball throughout. Yesterday was overcast, misty, and light rain throughout the day. There was uncertainty during the day on whether or not we'd play. The tarp was on the field, but it was just light enough of rain for them to be able to take the tarp off just in time to play the game and get it in yesterday. And now it's a slightly overcast day today, but not nearly as dark and misty as yesterday.
The Jags have a chance to cast a shadow on this offense here in the first inning and only allow 2 runs. Here with 2 outs is the DH for the Pacers. Brady O'Neill steps in. He has Durden over at first base. And as we've seen throughout this series, the Pacers are good at piecing hits together to accumulate runs. Jazz are trying to stifle that here. Good change of pace on that pitch from Meeks. Barrels it inside corner. Not much room for O'Neill to extend through the baseball. And he just watches that one settle into the inside corner. Meeks punches out. O'Neill at the plate. A very good pitch by Matt Meeks to minimize the damage here in the first, only allowing the 2 doubles that were implemented in the first to come around to score. Other than that, Meeks shuts the door, and we mosey on to the Jags half of the first inning. Jags down by 2. Jaguars looking to bring out the claws and try to claw back into this ball game. They'll ask Devin Billardello, their center fielder, to set the table off for them.
And one of the things that's crucial for the Jaguars, they struggled in the first 2 games with it, is getting the offense going early. If they can do that against the opposing starter, they can create trouble and maybe cause a little panic in the Pacers and make them have to get their bullpen up and start the chess game a little early.
Absolutely. And Devin Billardello is trying to do just that, being very aggressive at the plate off of starting pitcher Christian Aragon.
They struggled getting going early in the first 2 games of the series, and it allowed for Spence and Rafuse, the starters, the last 2 days for the Pacers, to really get in the groove and settle in and cruise for the Pacers' victory.
Just like we touched on briefly yesterday, if the Jags can get into the Pacer bullpen, then they definitely have a shot to come back. But they've got to work the counts, and they also want to have base runners to be able to do that. And Devin Billardello's the man to do just that with a lot of speed to his credit at the dish. And that ball's tapped to second. Quick transfer and a throw over, and the first out is retired in the Jags' opening frame. And that'll allow Jim Widener to head to the plate. The veteran batter stares at the first ball high and tight. And that ball's roped foul past the first base coach. Widener put a really good swing on that pitch. Just a tad out in front, though. Aragon delivers. Pitch rides over outside of the outside corner, so it's the second ball in the at-bat. As Wagner is one of the Jags, Robert, that will work the count and make Aragon work here. As that ball is grounded out to second base. Couple of chances for the second baseman this particular half inning, and he has shown great fielding presence with acquiring the first and the second outs. And now Harrison Moore digs in at the plate. Checks his swing, but that pitch was called a strike anyway. Did you love to see that ball that into the ground? First of weeks shows off that cannon for an arm off his back foot, stabilizes his base, and the Jags' half of the inning is in the books. So we'll amp up and bring you the second inning when we come back. Philip Watcher comes calling as he's the first man to bat here in the second inning. And Meeks is trying to shut the Pacers out here in the second inning, and he delivers the first pitch ball outside. So Watcher can't quite catch up to that enticing fastball and fouls it back off to the cargo net. Meeks' target locked and loaded and delivers a strike right into the inside corner. And that pitch sees the pavement of Millage Road. One ball and 2 strikes to Mr. Watcher. Huge splitter right there for Meeks. Gets his man. Watcher could not see the rotation in time. Swung way before that pitch even was at the plate. And the first out in the second is on the board.
Well, perhaps, now it's early, but Meeks may be starting to settle in. He recorded the strikeout to end the top of the first inning on a strikeout looking, and carries over here in the second for a strikeout in the first for back-to-back strikeouts after the Pacers got a little something going early on.
And Meeks is working fluently ahead in the count. He's been able to carve up these Pacer hitters, something that, outside of those 2 runs in the first, something that the Jags have been working on trying to do this whole series. And he's ahead in the count now here too. 0 balls and 2 strikes against a speedy Smithers. And that's a towering high fly ball out past second base. And Maddox clamps down on the second out. And then the last hope here in the second inning for the Pacers is Chandler Rogers up at the dish. And Meeks starts him off tight inside. That ball was in over the plate a little bit, and Rogers was able to extend through the baseball and wrap it around into left field for a 2-out single.
And how huge is that hit? 3 of the 4 hits this game we've seen by the Pacers have been line drives to left field. It's their sweet spot so far. But the reason that hit is so huge is now you flip the lineup card to the top of the order. And Bonilla, and if he can extend the inning, Weeks will be due up next. Top 2 guys who started the trouble an inning ago for the Pacers.
They've been on fire all series long, and right now Weeks is second in the Peach Ball Conference in terms of home runs. With that grand slam yesterday, it's 12 on the season for the Pacers. Bonilla works an even count here. 1 ball, 1 strike. You don't want to toy with Bonilla here and having to face Weeks on deck.
No, you certainly don't, although Bonilla is no easy out at all. But Weeks, who doubled and both Bonilla and Weeks doubled and scored back-to-back to start the game before the Jaguars could make an out last inning. And also Weeks with the grand slam yesterday in this very inning, the second inning.
Part of a 9-run second for the Pacers yesterday. Got a quick turnaround here, as last night's ball game was at 6, and today's ball game was start amped up at roughly 1 o'clock. Pinpoint accuracy there by Meeks evens back up the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes.
And with the count full,
Or 3 balls and 2 strikes.
Rogers will take off with there being 2 outs, and if there's a ball in the gap, good chance the score is going to be 3-0. So something the Jaguars should watch out for. There is a huge gap between where the Jaguars have Watson and Billardello playing in left and center field. And if Bonilla is able to exploit that, it's going to be trouble.
Meeks guns down Bonilla off of a splitter. See you later, walk back to the dugout, and the Jags roll right back through the second inning and hold the Pacer offense at bay. It's time for the Jags to ignite their offense and see what they can do in the bottom half of the second. Aragon is dying to keep his no-hitter intact as he faces off here in the second inning against Timothy Gray. And Gray, very aggressive on the first pitch there. Battles back on a foul ball. He's in a hole, 1 ball, and, or excuse me, no balls and 1 strike.
Timothy Gray, who has been starting first base throughout this weekend, the normal first baseman Ty Hobbs DHing tonight in the 6th spot in the lineup, and Gray, who towards the bottom of the lineup the last 2 days as starting first baseman, moved up to cleanup tonight. Hobbs due up third this inning.
And Gray laces one fair foul, and I do believe it's deemed foul. That was very close to a fair ball and what would have been a double down the line.
Trying to hit it in the same area where the Pacers have been successful hitting the ball so far, to the left side. Unfortunately, just a little bit foul.
Let's see if that moves Weeks over to try to contain that third base line. Gray tries to navigate the baseball into the same location. Foul tips that one and stays alive. And in fact, Weeks has moved over a couple of steps to guard against any hot corner doubles. Gray could not stop his momentum on that check swing, and he is down on strike. So a strikeout there for Aragon, recorded in the books as a first out. And Mason Robertson stands in for the Jags. Got a little bit of an open stance to him, as that fastball carries over into the 19 inches part of the strike zone, then settles in as a strike. Give or take 2 inches on each side of the strike zone, umpires will call. And that ball races over the outside corner. And Robertson has to fight out of a 0 ball and 2 strike hole. Good vision there by Robertson. One ball and 2 strikes. The 1-2 pitch. High fastball sails on Aragon. And if Robertson can work to a full count, the pressure in this at bat is back on the pitcher Aragon. And that indeed will be the case as Robertson looks at a pitch barely outside. Got Robertson, and then Aragon will have to deal with Hobbs on deck. Two check swings, 2 strikeouts for the Jags in the bottom half of the second inning. Ty Hobbs came in a pinch hit role in last night's ball game, Robert, and he had himself one heck of an at bat in the 9th inning.
Yeah, in yesterday's game, both teams really essentially emptied out their bench in yesterday's game. The Pacers, by the time the game was over, only had 3 starters that were still in the game. And we were trying to figure out who was going to play where in the outfield after all the pinch hitters. The next half inning defensively, a lot like an All-Star game, as I was saying yesterday.
There was at least 4 or 5 defensive changes in the or pinch hitters in the 9th inning for the Pacers, getting some of the guys who might not play all the time a chance to hit and also field. And as we pointed out yesterday, that experience will help them as they migrate farther on into the season and also next year. Aragon pinpoints the outside corner there to Hobbs as he is back even now at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Tight riding fastball in on Hobbs. Robertson worked to a full count. Now it's Hobbs' turn to see what he can do with a juice count. Rolled over the top of a splitter there from Aragon. Spoiled a good pitcher's pitch and stayed alive in the count. Electrified as the Jags side is retired, all on strikeouts. Aragon. Jags did work the count in that inning, but ultimately Aragon set them down all on strikeouts. So we maneuver into the 3rd inning. It's still a close ball game, 2-0, and we'll see what the Pacers can do in their half of the 3rd. Meeks is rearing back and ready to go for his 3rd inning of work, as Dalton Weeks stands in looking to contest Meeks and swings right off the bat through a first pitch splitter. Good idea from Meeks, and he got his desired result. When it doesn't look as enticing to Weeks, so he lays off. And Weeks sees a pitch elevate a little bit and shoots that one out to center field. It's where Devin Billardello is roaming around out there, camps under it, and the first out here in the 3rd inning is obtained.
We talk about how Meeks so far has settled down. He did give up the 2-out single to Rogers and then fell behind Bonilla 3-1, but he was able to answer and battle right back and end up striking out Bonilla for a big strikeout to end the inning. Last inning.
As that fastball camps over the outside corner to the catcher Pereira.
I'll see how he manages here in his 2nd trip through the heart of the lineup of the Pacers.
It's not a favorable matchup for Weeks, though, as you have a right-hander versus a left-hander batter, but he's forging his own path on the mound and making it his at bat is he's out in front of the count, 0 balls and 2 strikes. Splitter there. Pereira saw the rotation on it and didn't take the bat off the shoulder. Two runs on 4 hits for the Pacers. And that ball's conked into the ground. Gray has his first opportunity. Steps on the bag and right fielder hitting in the cleanup spot for the Pacers, Niall Goings, is outside. Pinpoint accuracy there from Meeks. Target designation over the out. And a good splitter right there from Meeks to full Goings, as even all across the board with 2 balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs. As Robert would say, deuces are wild.
It's also a tribute to the legendary voice of the Dodgers, Vin Scully, who liked to say that as well.
Absolutely. It's a great man to look up to. As that ball is scattered foul behind us. Also, you may hear a new voice for Sunday Night Baseball as well as Matt Vasgersian, who's worked for MLB Network, has the call on Sunday. Now, as he is a broadcaster that I've infused my style and modeled.
Got the opportunity to meet him a couple years ago.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
He's a very good guy. Slider starts out of the zone and then wraps into the strike zone. Gorgeous pitch there by Meeks to secure the 3rd out in the inning. And we will mosey on up into the 4th inning with no further damage on the board. Can the Jags amp up their offense and work their way back into this ballgame? Patrick Watson makes his way to the dish. And Aragon's first offering misses for a ball. So we mentioned Vin Scully, Matt Vasgersian, and another great personality in the booth was the Braves play-by-play and color as that pitch touches the strike zone there. And Skip Carey was, along with Pete Van Wieren, Joe Simpson, and
I believe he's the father of Chip Carey, who's currently the voice, and son of Harry Carey.
Absolutely. You've got a huge family lineage and a great family legacy with the Careys with calling baseball games. May your soul rest in peace, Mr. Carey. As that pitch braces for the outside corner, target is acquired, and it is a 2-ball and 2-strike count. And Patrick Watson whiffs at strike number 3. It was a beauty of a pitch. Fastball out over the plate, just a tad late on that pitch, and the first out here in the Jags' third is acquired by Aragon.
And he's just been outstanding. He struck out 4 straight, dating back to the second where he struck out the side, and he strikes out Watson for the first out in the third. Got the Jaguars to ground out a trio of times in the first. And boy, has he been outstanding.
So a little number foul. Over down the first base line. As you've got the veteran catcher, Brent Alford, up with a stick in his hand. Didn't hold back with the power on that swing from the baseball bat as he swings straight through a fastball. Quickly trailing in the count, 0 balls and 2 strikes. Alford goes down and golfs at one. The splitter headed to the dirt. Pops it up over by the dugout for the Pacers. And Durden calls off Pereira for the grab. Two down now. That brings up Trent Maddox for the call to get something started for the Jags. Still remain hitless in this ball game. As Maddox, great vision there to start off the at-bat. Saw that slider really well. Gets a piece and fouls it back. His timing was a little bit off there. Good setup pitch for Aragon as a fastball cannot connect with the outside corner. He is behind in the count, though. 2 balls and 1 strike. Make that 3 balls and 1 strike. And for the Jags, it could be as small as a walk here to get something started in a positive direction for the Jags to turn in to a very positive frame here with 2 outs. Guns a fastball, though, breaking over the inside corner. Last couple we've seen, on it and see left. And 1, 2, 3 go the Jags in the 3rd. Top of the 4th, right around the bend. Whether you're coming home from church, outside on this beautiful day, thank you so much for choosing to tune in to the Augusta Athletic Network to watch the rubber match of the cross-border war between the Augusta Jags and the USC Aiken Pacers, and to deliver his broadcast hours for the 4th through the 7th. Robert, take it away.
Thank you, Blake, and thank you once again for all the viewers who taking time out of their day to tune in as Durden looks at a ball 1-0. The Pacers with a 2-0 lead as we start the top of the 4th inning. And the 1-0 misses, 2 balls, no strikes.
That fastball didn't have much late movement to it. It stayed out of the zone instead of breaking and moving late back in like Meeks wanted it to.
And that's pop up down the left field line, and it falls for a base hit. Another bloop hit right in the area that the Pacers just love hitting the ball in left field.
Especially today, this opposite field approach on their behalf is working well to their advantage. So that like Billardello and like Harrison Moore out in the outfield for the Jags have more time to race under it, to camp under it, to secure the outs. But unfortunately, that is not the case now, as it's almost dead.
The 1-0 is going to be chopped foul. One ball and 1 strike on O'Neill. Runner on first, nobody out. Philip Watcher on deck for the Pacers. The 1-1 pitch on its way, and that's what O'Neill appeared to have been taking. It's a ball and 2 strikes.
If you got a little bit of curiosity to you about what's happening across the way at Augusta National, former Augusta Jaguar Patrick Reed is out in front of Rory McIlroy by 3 strokes. He is designated as 14 under right now to Rory at 11 under.
How huge would that be? And how huge is it to see him in the Masters on the final day?
The university has got to be proud of having Patrick Reed in the Masters in a huge tournament like that. It's absolutely. And Ricky Fowler's not that far behind either. He's 9 under.
And 2-2 fouled back. We'll do it all over again. It's a busy day if you're not only a golf fan, but if you're a wrestling fan. WrestleMania tonight as well.
Absolutely. It's for a baseball diehard and a wrestling diehard as well. This is like
It's the day
heaven
of your
on
life.
earth.
Absolutely.
It's
And
like,
they're one after another, too.
absolutely.
Not a coincidence.
It's like once this game wraps up, I'm heading over to a friend's house to watch it. That starts at the pregame for that is at 5, but the whole event, like this is the Super Bowl of wrestling, held at Mercedes-Benz Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. The whole event is slated for 5 to 6 hours, could even go 7. It's going to be.
You're hoping it goes 7.
Hey, as that ball's.
And in the right field, a base hit. So a base hit to left and a base hit to right to start the inning. For the Pacers, runners at the corners as Durden goes to third on a hit and run.
With days like today, it honestly makes you so thankful to be alive when you have arguably 2 of the greatest sports in my book absolutely falling back to back. And yes, as wrestling is an art form as well, it is also a sport.
It's kind of a similar feel to if you're a big fan of both baseball and football in the month of October.
Oh,
a lot
absolutely.
of times you have college football during the day on a Saturday and the World Series in the evening, and then on Sunday you have the NFL during the day, and then it follows with big World Series game in the evening. And a squeeze play works to perfection for the Pacers as Watcher does the sacrifice bunt and scores. Durden from third. ABC's of baseball. I know you love the ABC's of baseball, Blake. It works to perfection there as well for the Pacers. And O'Neill goes to second. I guess that makes it a double sacrifice bunt. As Durden would not have been able to score if it wasn't for the hit and run where he advanced to third on a single run.
It is the little things in baseball, with this being such a phenomenal sport, that turn up huge in games like this.
And 90 feet between bases, metaphorically, is a lot further than it actually is.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And right now, with that pass ball wild pitch rather, because it scooted under Alford's legs there, Aiken has another runner 90 feet away from the plate.
Ball and no strikes. The batter is Smithers.
We got a little friend here on the fan too, sitting,
Bird camping out.
enjoying watching the game.
Hard hit ball to third. Wagner was playing in. He looks O'Neill back to third. Good defense there and a good throw across the diamond in time for out number 2. So we have a productive first out by the Pacers and not a productive second out. As this time around, the runner has to hold at third. And that's going to bring up Chandler Rogers, the number 9 hitter. And he looks at a ball, 1-0, checked his swing and pulled back just in time when he realized the pitch was going to miss outside. Jaguars bullpen, it's been really overworked the last 2 days. It's currently empty. So far, this is easily, still a long way to go, but it's easily the best performance on the mound for the Jaguar starters this weekend that we've seen. Gilbert Hahn, neither Gilbert Hahn on Friday or on Saturday, neither starter got out of the second inning.
Yeah, it's definitely been a rough patch here for the Jags in terms of starting pitching, but that's also opened up the door for steady bullpen work, especially in yesterday's game with Hagelstein coming in and closing out 3 or 4 frames scoreless. So the bullpen has stepped up where the starters have struggled a little bit.
And it was that middle part of the game where Jaguars bullpen started to pitch well and keep him in it, even though it was 10-1 after the second inning. That's lined in the center, and that's a base hit, and that's going to score O'Neill, and it's 4-0 now in favor of the Pacers here in the fourth. And now we're back to the top of the order, and Bonilla. And Jose Bonilla struck out to end the second inning his last time up. His first time up, leading off the game in the first, he doubled and came in to score the first of 2 runs that inning and the first of 4 so far in the game. So far, the Pacers with a pair of runs in the first and now a pair of runs here in the fourth. Still 2 outs here in the fourth. That bird you were talking about, it's still on the fan. And it looks like he's come to watch a game. He's like any other fan is. On the fan. No balls and a strike to Bonilla. The pitch misses. 1-1.
With those talons that he's got too, he's got ample room on the blade of the fan up here. Now all we need is some popcorn.
Popcorn and a baseball. It's a good combination.
Absolutely. Especially on a day like this.
Absolutely. 2 balls and a strike on Bonilla.
Or also some boiled peanuts, as that is a custom with baseball. Or you could also do sunflower seeds as well.
Sunflower seeds.
Yep. And you can't forget about the traditional hot dogs either.
No chance. And of course, unique to to Jaguars games, a unique feature is Papa John's Pizza here.
Absolutely.
Proud sponsor of Augusta University Athletics. Grounded to short. Toss over to second in time. That ends the inning, but not before the Pacers add 2, take a 4-0 lead over the Jaguars as we go to the bottom of the fourth. Here at the Lake, we'll be back. We welcome you back here to the lake. The Jaguars have been set down in order in each of the first 3 innings. And now we'll begin the second trip through the lineup with the top of the order due up to start the inning. Devin Bill-Ardello. I'm Robert Ambrose along with Blake Collins. And Blake, now that Jaguars have made a trip through the lineup, even though it was an unsuccessful trip, about as unsuccessful as you can be, with no hits and no base runners, what adjustments should they make here?
For one, if you're... Was that ball before you even get started?
Right as we speak, first hit of the game for the Jaguars, and their first base runner as well. The perfect game and no-hitter is no longer intact.
And it's the right man on the bags, too, with Bill-Ardello's speed. Started off right at the top of the order. Get it motoring around. But in terms of what we were talking about, the adjustment category, in terms of being at the plate, think, if you're a hitter, look at thinking one step ahead of the pitcher, and then when you are in that mode, then it's more of, if you know what's coming, then react better to the baseball and put better aluminum on the bat, as you saw Bill-Ardello did right there with a strong single out of the gate here in the Jags' fourth. But it's just the adjustment period is putting together stronger at bats and then thinking one step ahead of Aragon, so that way you can create better timing on the pitches, and that will also work out in your favor in terms of base runners, base hits, and then you can slowly start to climb back into this affair.
And it starts with Bill-Ardello's single. As now, important thing with this being the second trip through the Jaguars' order is everybody's seen at least one pitch from Aragon in this game. And it's fouled away. 0-2 to Jim Wagner.
So, for example, if Aragon's pitched like a fastball, or if he's pitched 2 straight fastballs, then you have a good idea of breaking pitches coming to mix up his pitches and to throw you off balance. So if you think ahead like that, you can stay back on the next pitch, and that way you can time that up better and have a better opportunity to get on base.
It's absolutely true. Grounding out at bats also very important. And see here how Aragon handles his first base runner. And Bill-Ardello, who's got speed. The 0-2 pitch. Called! Strike 3. Wagner down on strikes, 1 away. On 3 pitches.
And the thing that may contain Bill-Ardello at first is the fact that you have a left-hander up, or you have a left-hander on the mound. Left-handers usually have an easier path to throw over to first base, and their move could be quicker. So that may contain Bill-Ardello over at first base, and you might not see as much offensive strategy in terms of like a hit and run or a straight steal from the Jags because of Aragon being a left-hander.
Pitches a ball to Harrison Moore, 1-0.
And especially with him using that slide step, it's about a second to second and a half difference between the windup and the slide step. And with him using that slide step to contain the base runner, it's going to be very hard for the Jags to steal a bag.
The 1-0 misses. 2 balls, no strikes on Harrison Moore. Is this a steal count here, you would think?
You would think.
Not strike 2 and 1.
But that's playing along with the pitcher as a base runner too, because you want to go on something that is slower in speed. So you want to go on something that's like a slider or a curveball that gives you the maximum amount of time to get to the bag. Not only that, but with the contained jump that the Jags have, because of what we just talked about with how Aragon's pitch, that's going to be crucial in their base running game.
Called strike 2. 2-2. Moore was ahead in the count 2-0, and he looks at a pair of strikes, and the count is even 2-2. Still early, but Aragon has not thrown over to first at all since Bill-Ardello got on base.
You know, there's a famous pitcher in the majors,
John Lester,
who pitched right here on this mound. that he hates throwing over to first base, and he is a left-hander.
Through the hole on the left side, a base hit. To second, Bill Ardello, 2 on and 1 out for the Jaguars. They're in business. And the cleanup hitter, Timothy Gray, coming up.
Stayed steady through the strike zone, brought his hands in gorgeously, and just sent it back where the pitcher left the pitch to the plate. Beautiful piece of hitting there from the Jags.
Basically, it went halfway between the third baseman and the shortstop. Out of the reach of both of them.
Right in that hole. And a lot of times you'll have players and folks in the game refer to that as a seeing eye single, as both the shortstop and third base tried their best to get to it, but just right out of the reach of both of them.
Count a ball and no strikes on the cleanup hitter and first baseman of the Jaguars, Timothy Gray, 2 on and 1. Offensively for the more regardless of base. And we second baseman, second base, and the shortstop, Chandler Rogers, in normal depth.
He's in double play depth. Watcher will move out to double play depth
As soon as the pitch goes into motion, step on the bag at third, throw to first in time, a double play. Hit right to third, and on the hop, it was an easy play for Weeks at third base to step on the bag and get the lead runner, and because he was hit hard, plenty of time to throw across the diamond to get Gray to complete the double play, and that ends the inning, and the thread is over just like that. Jaguars still trail at 2-0 as we go to the fifth here at the Lake. We'll be back. Welcome back to the Lake. It's the top of the fifth inning. Absolutely no wind once again here. Top of the fifth inning. Dalton Weeks, the number 2 leader in terms of home runs in the Peach Belt Conference. A grand slam yesterday's game, leads off the fifth. He swings at the first pitch, pops it up. Foul territory, right side. 3, Jaguars giving chase. And it lands in the dugout for a foul ball. Just out of the reach of Timothy Gray, who was pursuing that one. No balls and a strike on Dalton Weeks. In this game, 1 for 2, a double, fly out, and a run scored.
This is not the only high-powered offense that the Jags will face this month, as their next homestand on the April the 20th, 21st, and 22nd, the top seed in the Peach Belt Conference, Georgia College, shoots on in here to Lake to stay in for a good 3-game set as well. And I've just been informed too that on Saturday, April the 21st, the Augusta University Cancer Center will be here at the stadium as well to raise awareness.
The 0-2 pitch swung on and missed, and Timothy Gray is thrown out at first, which completes the strikeout. He was running to first with the bat in his hands. It's I don't think I've ever seen a baseball player run with the bat to first base on an in-play ball like that.
That is the first time at this level I've seen that as well. That was interesting.
I don't think I've seen that at any level of baseball or softball. It's going to bring up Brian Pereira. basically being his own team's bat boy.
Oh,
Swing and a miss by Pereira, nothing in one.
over the course of, especially in the majors, I mean, when you have 162 games, and when you also account for the playoffs and stuff like that, it anchors in about give or take 183 games given the playoff system. You won't see the same thing on the next day. You always see something different in the game of baseball. And that's another beautiful aspect to this game, is not seeing the same thing and seeing something different always gives you a different outlook, and you can also learn more about the game through those instances as well.
Absolutely. The count, ball and a strike, even in Pereira with one out. Aces are wild. And that's swung hit the opposite way to left field. Charging Watson. He makes the catch. At second base, Mason Robertson was playing almost towards right field with the left-handed Pereira up. Expecting him to pull the ball, but hits it the opposite way, and Watson's able to make the catch for the second out.
Yep.
And that's going to bring up Niall Goings, who's 0 for 2 tonight. Right fielder for the Pacers. And here's the pitch to Goings. And that's lined down the right field line. Foul ball. Almost a 2-out double potentially for Goings.
A couple of inches more to the left, and he would have had himself a double, maybe even a triple bagger. But a good swing on the baseball from Goings there. Tried to push it the opposite way. It would have been tough to stretch that into a triple with Moore's arm in right field. But a good approach nonetheless from Goings.
The 0-1 pitch to Goings. Swing and a miss. Nasty pitch on the outside corner. Nothing in 2.
So he times up a changeup, and it's what we were talking about last inning. Times up a changeup, sends it just foul, and then Meeks explodes back on the very next pitch with a fastball, and he was late on the fastball.
Fouls another one back. Count still 0-2. Good battle here by Goings. Talked about how the Pacers love making contact, even if it's a foul ball, to stay alive. And the 0-2 on its way, and that misses high and in. Goings had to duck out of the way to avoid getting plunked on the helmet there. 1 ball and 2 strikes.
Thank goodness that was a change of speeds. It looked like a changeup or something off speed that Meeks threw, that Goings had a chance to react to it and get out of the way of the pitch.
And that's in the air to right field, and the catch is made by Harrison Moore for the third and final out. 1, 2, 3, go the Pacers. That's the second 3 up, 3 down in this game defensively for the Jaguars. They come to bat as we go to the bottom of the 5th here at the Lake. We'll be back. We're back at the lake. It's the bottom of the 5th inning. Set to begin. Mason Robertson 0 for 1 with a strikeout in this game will lead things off for the Jaguars. Going to be followed by Ty Hobbs and Patrick Watson. And the first pitch he sees is taken for a called strike. 0-1. Jaguars trail it 4-0. They have no runs off of 2 hits, no errors. And the Pacers of USC Aiken with 4 runs off 7 hits and 0 errors. We are 4.5 innings into this one. Here in the bottom of the 5th, the 0-1 pitch misses for a ball, 1-1 on Mason Robertson. And the 1-1 misses 2 balls and 1 strike. He looked at a strike to start the at-bat and has looked at 2 balls since then. Count 2 balls and a strike. Struck out his first time up for the 2nd out in the 2nd inning. Leads off here in the bottom of the 5th. Wind starting to pick up, blow out towards right center field. The 2-1 pitch. Checked swing, called strike 2 anyway. 2 balls and 2 strikes on Robertson, the freshman second baseman for the Jaguars. He's been a bright spot on this young team.
Absolutely, that was the best pitch of the at bat so far, and he was in a hitter's count at that particular point.
The 2-2, swing and a miss, down on strikes. Robertson for the 2nd time in this game, 1 out here in the 5th inning, and it's going to bring up Ty Hobbs, who also struck out his first time up. And he'll be followed by Patrick Watson, who also struck out his first time up. This was back in the 2nd and 3rd inning where Aragon struck out 4 in a row, including the side in the 2nd and the first out in the 3rd. And Hobbs is hit by the pitch. Curveball that broke a little too far inside. And he's on first with 1 out, and Patrick Watson coming to bat.
If you get hit with a pitch, that's the type of pitch you want to get hit with, is an off-speed pitch and not a fastball, because that changes speeds.
Not nearly as painful.
Not nearly as painful, and you have better results with an off-speed pitch when you get hit like that, because it's less chance of an injury too. Especially if the fastball roams around the head area. That is scary, and we've already seen this year during one of the games that we've done that a player got hit in the helmet with a fastball. So it is a scary proposition, but thank goodness Hobbs got hit with a curveball, and he's walking around at first base.
The helmet may protect you sometimes, but it doesn't always if you
Absolutely.
get hit in the head. The 0-1 misses for a ball, 1 ball and 1 strike.
And regardless whether it is a curveball or an off-speed pitch or a fastball, if it's at the head area, you are going to have your bell rung for a little bit.
Wind has suddenly died once again here. 1-1 pitch, swung on, chopped, right side foul, 1-2 to Watson.
It's good to see him taking his normal steps back to first base. He's not going to affect his base running.
Talked earlier how the Jaguars in their next homestand, 2 weekends from now, host a 3-game series against Peach Belt Conference's first-place team, Georgia College, who's 16-2. Conference play 24-7 overall. They've had an amazing year this year, and their offense is the leader in the conference in just about every category.
Yeah,
it's going to be a tough out in 2 weeks.
Entering this weekend, 4 of the top 5 leaders in batting average in the Peach Belt Conference belong to Georgia College. So that is going to be a huge series in 2 weekends from now.
That homestand, however, will begin against Payne College on Wednesday, the 18th of April. That'll be after, however, 3 road games the Jaguars will travel for. They take on Newberry on Tuesday in South Carolina, and then go to Columbia to take on Benedict on Wednesday night, and then have the whole weekend off, which will be beneficial for the Jaguars. And then they face North Greenville the following Tuesday, the 17th, the night before they begin the homestand against Payne here at the Lake. As this 2018 campaign is starting to wind down, as crazy as that sounds, it feels like just yesterday the season started back on February 2nd. Count is full on Watson, 3-2. Good at bat here. And the 3-2, swing and a miss. Second time Watson is down on strikes in this game. 2 outs and 7 strikeouts on the day for Aragon.
Tip of the cap to Aragon there. A good pitch off of a splitter that dropped, and Watson thought he was getting a fastball, swung right over the top of it, couldn't make contact with it. Very good pitch to garner the second out for Aragon.
It's going to bring up Brent Alford, the Jaguars starting catcher and number 8 hitter. And he looks at a ball inside, 1-0. Trying to extend the inning for the number 9 hitter, shortstop Trent Maddox. Jaguars have really struggled to find an answer for Aragon. They put a pair of runners on base last inning, but that was erased by a double play. That's through the hole on the left side. Base hit. To second was Hobbs, 2 on with 2 out, and here comes Trent Maddox.
Alford took a little bit of a redirection angle at the plate. It's a fastball over the plate. He got the bat head around, whipped it around, hit the ball kind of out in front of him, pulled it over into the hole on the left side. Good at bat for Alford to extend the threat now for the Jags. Again, this coming with 2 outs.
2 on and 2 outs here. Maddox in this game 0 for 1. He flew out to end the third. And it's a called strike. Nothing in 1.
But this is also a situation where the Jags have somewhat thrived this season, driving in a number of runs type of scenario. See if they can come through here again.
The 0-1 misses. A ball on a strike.
It's a gorgeous take there by Maddox. He's seeing the ball really well and tracking it really good. He saw the rotation right out of the hand and just blink an eye at offering on that pitch.
And the 1-1 misses 2 balls. And a strike on Maddox will have a mound visit as the Pacer catcher Pereira on his way out for a little talk with Aragon about the situation. He had a little jam last inning with 2 on and 1 out and got out of it with a double play. Now faces 2 on with 2 outs here, trying to get out of the inning without any damage and prevent a potential rally.
And sometimes too, in these type of talks, your catcher has the best vision of what's going on with the pitcher at the plate, being 60 feet away from him. He, a lot of times, has better vision than the head coach in the dugout, seeing as what's going on. So, trying to settle him down here is Pereira.
The 2-1 misses 3 balls and a strike.
He's fallen behind, and he's trailed in the count to at least 2 of the batters that he's seen this inning.
And the 3-1, swung on a 3-1, grounded to third, throw across the diamond is in time, but they pulled Durden off the bag. Everybody's safe, and the bases are loaded with 2 outs, and the inning continues, And we go to the top of the Jaguars order. Devin Billardello will get a chance.
Everything went right there for Weeks, with the exception of his release point. He released it late, and he pulled the ball a little bit, and that allowed for the Jags to continue in the inning with the bases loaded. Getting that foot off the bag. Now, on this miniature error here by Weeks, they're in business.
And we saw Pereira with the mound visit and at bat ago, and he comes back out. This time he's joined by head coach Kenny Thomas of the Pacers. Talk things over with the bases loaded jam. This is a big opportunity here for the Jaguars, and boy, do they need this one.
And remember how we mentioned how the small things turn out to be huge in a game like this. That's a small error, because when you release the ball, that threw the first baseman off the bag, and he didn't get his foot back on the bag. See if the Jazz can capitalize here with a huge opportunity with the bases loaded.
Billardello singled to lead off the fourth inning and was thrown out at third as part of the double play to end that inning. And he looks at a ball 1-0. Bats here with the bases loaded and 2 outs. The ruling on that play is a throwing error by third baseman Dalton Weeks. The 1-0 pitch misses 2-0. And that was on a 3-1 pitch that Maddox had the green light on, with 2 on and 2 out, interestingly enough there. Weeks was in a good position to make the play, and he did everything right there, but it's just a tough, hard, long throw to first base.
And the only thing that went wrong on that play was that throw. I mean, he had everything under his base and everything. Oh,
that's line to second. It takes a hop, and whoa, my goodness, stepping on second base on the hop is Rogers, and that ends the inning as several collisions were avoided there with all sorts of hops and several fielders going after the ball. But it took a lucky hop for the Pacers right to Rogers, who was just a step away from the bag, steps on the bag in time to end the inning, and the Jaguars leave the bases loaded.
That is the definition of a bang play. That was much closer than the Pacers would have liked to, and the Jags did make a solid effort there to create a run. Very good play on both sides of the diamond for both teams on different occasions, especially with the base running of the Jags, but the Pacers put the kibosh on the threat.
They absolutely do. As we head to the 6th, we will take a quick break, and we'll be back shortly. Welcome you back here to the lake. It's the top of the 6th inning. Connor Durden will lead it off. And we go back to that last play to end the bottom of the 5th inning. It was a tough play for the Jaguars on tough hop as they stranded the bases loaded. And Jaguars in this game, they trail 4-0, but Blake, they've really had some tough breaks with bad hops on the balls that they've hit that have resulted in outs.
Yeah, and you can't really ask for better swings on the baseball, because when they've had a chance to put the ball in play, they've made solid contact. It's just been right to some of the defenders, and So we saw last inning, just a tough break off of a ball that hit the pitcher's glove and bounced right to the shortstop.
That's a called strike to Durden, 1-1.
And also, for Miss here, commend him on this start because he's held this high vaulted offense to only 4 runs. And usually,
Lined up the middle, a base hit, as Robinson was playing almost closer to first base. And it was hit right closer to second base. Through the hole for a base hit. Leadoff single by Durden, one on, nobody out for O'Neill.
and usually the rule of thumb is for quality starts, hold the opposing team to 3 runs or less when you're out on the mound. But to hold this team right now through 5 to 4 runs and seeing how this series has gone for the Jaguars, this is a good quality start for Meeks that he has allowed his team to stay in this ballgame.
Fouled away behind us by O'Neill, 0-1. Meeks has pitched very well. Lack of run support has not helped. But nevertheless, he's done his job so far. Bullpen starting to stir for the Jaguars. A ball and a strike on O'Neill. Run on first and Durden. Nobody out. Check on the runner at first. Throw over. And Durden gets back. O'Neill followed by Philip Watcher, who's on deck. And now the 1-1. Swing and a miss on the curveball, 1-2.
Yeah, they... In baseball, much like any sport, you see all the time where defense is a absolute. So see a ball sail right there.
And misses 2 balls, 2 strikes. Now on Brady O'Neill, designated hitter for the Pacers.
We finish up. Defense is one of the major components to winning a championship, and if you have, and seeing how the Jags have played this particular series, they've done really well, and just a couple of bad breaks, but you got to be pleased with how the defense has played this particular game. Offense does score the runs, but pitching and defense definitely is the glue to hold the game together. And not only that, but also shut down any offenses. Because if you just have an onslaught of both offenses, you could be here all day long. And also, you...
Line through the hole on the left side once again. Base hit, back-to-back singles to start this 6th now for the Pacers.
And not only that, but it would be hard-pressed to get through nine innings of baseball at that point. So the defense is definitely held steady this game for the Jags, and commendable for them, and also for Meeks on the mound, who has just done a dandy of a job today. Even though those 4 runs came across, it's still a very good quality start considering how the first 2 games have gone for the Jags.
Absolutely has been. We have a mound visit by Alford, who's up to talk to Meeks, have a little word. And with 2 on, nobody out, Philip Watcher will bat. He's 0 for 2 in this game. He's grounded out or on a suicide squeeze play back in the 4th to score a run. To score a runner from 3rd, and he struck out to start the 2nd inning. And pitches a ball, snap throw to 2nd, and out at 2nd is Durden, who was a little too far off the base. The Jaguars noticed it, took advantage of the opportunity for the out.
Durden thought he would get a little too fancy out there at 2nd and was dancing around. Offered with that quick snap cannon throw to 2nd. Guns this man down.
Ball. The pitch was a ball, so a ball, no strikes on Watcher now with 1 out and a runner on 2nd. Correction, the pitch was a called strike. Count 0-1. And boy, does that base running mistake by the Pacers change the complexion of this inning.
You know, and catcher's such a pivotal position, not only in terms of the at-bats, but what they can do behind the plate in terms of messing up the base running game. Not only in baseball with Brent Alford, who's not afraid to throw there, but also in softball with Ashley Boyd behind the plate for the Jags. At softball, she has a quick cannon as well, and she is not afraid to throw behind the runners and get creative with securing outs.
AU softball went on Friday as part of a doubleheader. Softball, baseball day-night doubleheader on Friday. Jaguar baseball in action right now here at the lake. Ball and 2 strikes on Watcher. Top of the 6th, runner on first, 1 out, 4-0 in favor of the Pacers of USC Aiken. The 1-2 on its way, swung on line into right field. Harrison Moore is there. He makes the catch for second out. Back to first goes O'Neill, 2 outs. I'll now bring up the number 9 hitter Chandler Rogers, a 5'10 freshman from Commerce, Georgia. He is 2 for 2 in this game, a pair of singles. Was thrown out to end the 4th inning after singling on a fielder's choice play, and was stranded on first after singling in the 2nd inning. Correction, it's Smithers up now. Rogers is on deck. Looking ahead a little bit on the scorebook. Pitch to Smithers, chopped foul. So Smithers trying to extend this inning for Rogers.
Great opening sequence here from Meeks, bearing a pitch inside to where Smithers had a hard time getting around on the baseball. And when you can't extend your hands through the baseball, even when you pull your hands inside, that's the result that you see a lot of the times with slow tappers, slow bouncing balls.
And a called strike 2 to Smithers, 0-2 the count now.
Meeks here after giving up. First base is coming back strong.
And the 0-2 swung on in the air to center field. Bill Ardello is there, and Bill Ardello makes the catch, and the inning is over. So we'll put up a 0 on the scoreboard as we go to the bottom of the 6th inning. Jaguars trail it 4-0 and are coming to bat. You're watching and listening to the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube. We'll be back. to score, but it has to try and chip away and get back in this pop. He's in the infield. The catch is made at shortstop for out number 1. Wagner is retired, and he's 0 for 3 on the night after the fly out. That's going to bring up Harrison Moore. Moore in this game is 1 for 2 with a single and a ground out. Grounded out to end the first inning and singled with an out in the fourth, which advanced Bill Ardello from first to second at the time. That was followed by Timothy Gray grounding into an inning-ending double play. Gray is on deck now. First pitch to Moore, misses for a ball, 1-0. This is the third and final game of a 3-game series. The Jaguars fell to the Pacers 14-4 on Friday night and 15-1 yesterday, trailing 4-0 here in the third and final game in the bottom of the 6th inning, trying to avoid the sweep. It's not going to be easy facing this deficit and seeing as well as the Pacer starting pitching has been throughout this weekend. Aragon has not allowed a run in this game and only 3 hits through 5 and a third. Make that 5 2/3 as Moore grounds out to shortstop for the second out. That's going to bring up Jaguar first baseman Timothy Gray. Gray struck out his first time up in the 4th inning, as I mentioned just a moment ago, grounding into the inning-ending double play. Try to avoid ending the inning here and trying to extend it for Mason Robertson, who waits on deck. Jaguars with just 3 hits in this game. Stranded the bases loaded back in the 5th. Fouled away by Gray. 0-1. This game for the Jaguars, even though they're trailing 4-0, it's going a lot better than the way Friday and Saturday's games went. Really says a lot, considering Jaguars trail 4-0 here, but fell 14-4 Friday and 15-1 on Saturday. It's been all Pacers this weekend. That's in the air to right field. Going back just shy of the warning track is Goings, and Goings goes back to make the catch, and the side is retired. And the Jaguars go 3 up, 3 down here in the bottom of the 6th. Trail it 4-0 as we go to the 7th here at Lake Olmsted Stadium. You're watching and listening to the Augusta University Athletics Network on YouTube as we go to the 7th at the Lake. We'll be back. The Lake, it's the top of the 7th inning. The Jaguars have a new pitcher on the mound. Starter Matt Neek, 6 innings of hits. And certainly it was the best performance by a Jaguar starter over the weekend, as neither starter in Friday or Saturday's game made it out of the 2nd inning. And the first pitch from Pugh to Rogers misses for a ball, 1-0 here to start the 7th. Rogers will be followed by Bonilla and Weeks here in the 7th. And the 1-0 misses 2 balls and no strikes to Rogers. Here, the clouds have really started to clear out, and it's become a beautiful afternoon for baseball. It was a cloudy day at the start. Two balls, no strikes to Rogers. The pitch in there for a called strike. 2 balls and 1 strike. And Robert Ambrose, joined by Blake Collins, and for the final 3 innings of play-by-play, I'm going to turn it over to Blake to call the rest of the game. Blake, take it away.
Thank you, Robert. As that ball is scorched on the ground at third base, but president over third base feels it very cleanly, and fires the bullet over to first base for the first out. Now the Pacers wrap around their batting order to the top half of the order, and Jose Bonilla, the center fielder, stationed at the plate and ready to get the offense started for the Pacers. First pitch to him is a fastball inside that pegs the inside corner. You've got the senior on the mound, Cody Pugh. That ball's skied high, out to Patrick Watson. A little bit of movement to his right after coming in, and he secures the second out.
Bonilla is a dangerous leadoff hitter for the Pacers, but Jaguars, since Bonilla led off the game with a double and came in to score, which set the tone for this game, Jaguars since that time have really done well against him. He's 0 for 3 since then. A strikeout to end the second, and he grounded out to end the fourth inning on a fielder's choice, and he flies out here for the second out of the seventh inning. Similarly, Weeks followed Bonilla with a double in the first inning and also came in to score.
He is red hot, boy, as Weeks scorches a seeing eye single into center field. He continues his red hot series.
Since his double in the first inning and run scored, however, he was 0 for 2 up until now, where he singles here with 2 outs in the seventh to extend the inning.
He was a part of that first inning barrage of doubles that plated him and Bonilla at the start of the game to account for those 2 runs. Now Brian Pereira watches the first pitch ball barrel inside. Pugh's looking to anchor in a shutout here in the seventh, as he's got to get one more out before we go into the stretch. Good pitch right there off a splitter from Pugh. Man, oh man, did that look nasty. And Pereira could not do anything with it as he tried to swing to make contact with it. But too much rotation, too much dip, and first strike in the at-bat. Closer than what Weeks would have liked it to have been over at first base. Just before the tag. Gets his hand in there safely. Pugh, change of speeds. But we'll do it one more time as pitch is fouled off to the right.
It's at that point where the Pacers battle back and close to ending the inning, but it was just foul.
Yeah, the batter's out of the tags, and that's the end of the inning. So a good alert play by Alford, and a good job of placing the tag on Pereira, who also did a good job of staying in the batter's box.
One of those rare instances where you could wait a moment before you start running.
Didn't matter though, it's the same splitter that he fouled off, different location, sees him walking back to the dugout as the inning wraps up for the Pacers offensive half. The Jags offensive half comes right back around after the stretch. Mason Robertson at the dish now, and he places a perfectly good bunt to try to get something started, but Weeks, being alert as Everett, third base, scouted that beautifully. So good decision there by the Jags to try to get to first base safely off of a bunt, but unsuccessful as Hobbs stands back in at the dish. And a chance for the shortstop to fire over to the first base. 2 quick outs here in the bottom half of the 7th. Jags are staying aggressive as Patrick Watson is ready to deliver a beating to the baseball.
He looks ready to do exactly that. And he's yet to make contact in this game. He's 0 for 2 with a pair of strikeouts.
So his time is due for single.
In his first at bat, he was the 4th consecutive strikeout victim by Aragon when he struck out for the first out in the 3rd, an inning after Aragon struck out the side. And he struck out for the 2nd out in the 5th. That was Aragon's 7th strikeout victim when he struck out in the 5th.
And that ball's laced into center field right on cue as Patrick Watson says adios to that over and stands at first with a single.
And I'll tell you, the Jaguars needed that one, and Watson was definitely going to be happy about that one as well after striking out a pair of times. Since Watson struck out in the fifth, Jaguars have done a much better job making contact. Aragon has not struck out anybody since then.
He comes back, working ahead in the count here, though, to Alford. Barely outside Aragon. And that is now 2 balls and 1 strike as that ventures into the dirt. Good eye from Alford. That splitter could not get any timing down on the speed of the baseball. Swings right over the top and through. And it's now 2 balls and 2 strikes. The ball's grounded to the third. Weeks has a chance, bobbles it for a minute. Alford speed cannot beat out the throw. Had a good chance to continue the inning with that little bit of a miscue from Weeks, in which he recovered very beautifully. So now, the 8th inning is about to amp up. Still a very good game, and a game that's well within the Jags' reach. Can they hold them here? Can Cody Pugh reenact his last inning with a shutdown inning as he's ahead back in the count to Niles Givings? Going, saw what he liked, took a rip at it, popped it foul. And on 4 pitches, Niles Goings becomes the first strikeout victim here in the 8th inning.
Also, Pugh's second strikeout victim. He struck out Pereira to end the inning, so back-to-back strikeouts for Pugh so far.
Pugh's dealing with the cleanup man, the 5th man, and the 6th man in the order in this half inning. Which means that it will be, if everything goes smoothly for the Jags in the 9th inning, it will be the 7th, 8th, and 9th batters due up for the Pacers in their 9th. And that ball's twisted foul. Skewed off the end of the bat over to Wagner at third base in foul territory. You can tell Pugh is locked and loaded, as that is his 3rd strikeout in his many outs. And with Brady O'Neill coming to the dish, Pugh's looking to get out of this inning with a bare minimum of pitches thrown, as he hasn't thrown that many this inning.
No, he struck out Goings on 4 pitches and Durden on 3. So just 9 pitches. And that's it.
That is the mark of efficiency as a bullpen reliever. And as the inning comes to a close for USC Aiken, the Jags want to get a fire started with their bats. Let's see what they have in store for us in the 8th. So to spark the offense with the 9-hole hitter due up first in Trent Maddox, and then turn the lineup card over to the top half and Bill Ordello, followed by Jim Wagner. And they look to break this 4-hit snide they've been on for the last couple of innings. as Aragon continues his 4-hit game on the mound. Maddox, good keen eye right there, watching that fastball sail out of the strike zone. And Aragon froze Maddox on a fastball target. Sinks into the outside corner, locked and loaded, and there's one out in the inning. As Devin Billardello comes into the dish. The Jags on offense only having 5 outs to work with. Billardello trying to make things happen for the Jags, swings over the top of a splitter. Could not quite get the call to Aragon on that pitch as it dips too low. And Billardello bounces one up the pipe and through into center field.
It's his second hit of the game. Both singles. He singled the lead off the first inning to center field as well on the first pitch he saw. And I would say, despite the struggles, Billardello offensively has been a bright spot in this game.
Absolutely. And not only that, but with his speed component too, he could also create havoc for the Pacers on defense.
Pacers trying to hold him on here.
As you've got Wagner at the dish now, who thinks better about swinging at that pitch, but is in a hole, 0 balls and 1 strike.
Aragon has shown in this game he's not fazed by the Jaguars base runner. He's got out a bases loaded jam earlier in the game, and in the 4th inning he got the Jaguars to ground into an inning-ending double play.
That time, Wags liked what he saw and bounces it past the first baseman for the Pacers, just in foul territory, as that was close to being a double, and Billardello might have been able to plate the Jags' first run.
That was close. This is a game of inches. A lot of balls hit down the lines in this game.
And now as Durden holds on Billardello, you would think now he's going to guard the line more closely, even after the pitch is released from Aragon's hands. Aragon is pinpoint accurate with strike threes. It's dead laced right on the outside corner, and 2 up and 2 down on strikeouts. This half inning, and now with Billardello at first base, it gives way to Harrison Moore, the right fielder.
Moore singled in the 4th inning, and he's grounded out a pair of times to third base in this game.
Aragon's living on the outside corner as he stations another one there and gets the strike call. Same location, same result.
Now Moore is going to have to be ready to protect here with 2 strikes. He's not going to be able to let one of those go again.
And that ball's battled back into the parking lot. The ball scattered out to center field. Center fielder takes charge. Ring general out there comes in for the catch. And that is via Jose Bonilla, who's had a good day at the plate and in center field. Puts a squeeze on the third out. So the 9th inning is right around the corner with the Pacers coming up to bat. So as we stand right now, this offense for the Pacers comes up for the final time here at Lake Olmsted Stadium in 2018 in the regular season, unless the Jags have something else to say about it in the bottom half. But Philip Watcher's up now.
Jaguars will have to get out of this inning before we worry about that, however.
Yep, and Watcher battles one foul out off to the left. Turns on one there, down and in, and he's in quickly in a hole. 1 ball and 2 strikes. And that ball's lifted into left field. Watson squeezes it in his glove for the first out. With the way Cody Pugh is pitching right now, let him go as long as he can. He's had 2 shutdown innings for the Jags on the bump, and he's got the first out to prove it.
And how huge would it be if he can get them through this inning as well and save the rest of the bullpen, which is already pretty depleted at this point.
Absolutely, and that'll bode well going into the road games coming up next week.
Absolutely, and it's a short week for the Jaguars. They don't have another conference game for 12 days before North Georgia, or Georgia College, I should say, comes here on Friday the 20th of April. But they got a short week, as after tomorrow, the off day, they travel to take on Newberry on Tuesday and then Benedict on Wednesday. So they got to get ready for that as well, even though they're non-conference games.
So back-to-back games after the off day, and then they have, as that ball's laced into left center field, a good AB there for Aiken. Although he slips, rounding second, slides back into first safely, and he slipped rounding first base almost into the middle, halfway between second and first. Good AB almost turns into a disaster for the Pacers.
Took a bad step on there.
Yep.
That'll be interesting with the Jaguars after these games. Weekend off next weekend.
And then they come back, rearing back ready to go next Tuesday.
So it'll be interesting to see how the Jaguars handle the off weekend and getting ready for first place Georgia College, and of course the game against Payne on Wednesday the 18th as well. In college baseball, it's pretty rare to get a weekend off.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
especially with Peach Belt, all the conference games are on weekends, or the majority of them are.
it's like a bye week in football, the once a year week off that NFL teams get. College, same thing.
Yep, their final road game on this trip will be against North Greenville, and then, as Robert was saying, shoot back into Lake Olmsted Stadium for the good old-fashioned crosstown rivalry game versus Payne. Bunt pulled back, and Aiken swipes second. Look at Chandler Rogers up at the dish now. We got good speed out there. Pops up the bunt, and not a good sign for Augusta, as Pugh fell down and couldn't get to the pop-up bunt. See if he's okay, and it looks like he's walking it off.
He's fine, but Rogers totally caught the Jaguars defense off guard, and Wagner tried to back up Pugh charging in, but he was not expecting the bunt and had to run a little too far and was unable to make the play because of Rogers' speed. He wasn't able to make it in time.
Pugh might have gotten a spike caught in the grass there, which tripped him up. And now Aiken with Jose Bonilla, the guy you most definitely do not want in a situation like this, because not only can he get on base, he is extremely tough to double up with his speed. And the Jags, unless it's a hard hit ball, and a harshly hit ball to the infield, we're gonna have a tough time doubling up Bonilla.
Nevertheless, even if you can't, getting the lead runner is never bad either.
Exactly.
And based on that, with the speed of the runners on first, Rogers and Bonilla, you might want to have your infield in, because most likely Smithers at third will run on contact if the ball hits the ground in a situation like this.
Or at least have Wagner in and keep your infield at double play. So that way you've got your corners in, and if Wagner gets the hot ground ball or the hot low line drive, he can look back.
And Wagner playing right on the baseline. That was bunted right to him again that time, but foul.
So you got Smithers at third base, and looks like Rogers at first for Aiken. Now you do have activity in the Jags bullpen, but this might just be a conference call. We'll wait and see.
Well, they want to include their infield in this discussion to really discuss the entire alignment and what they're going to do depending on what happens with Bonilla's at bat, where he hits the ball, which out they want to pursue.
Right.
Depending on the situation here.
Because the last thing you want is if the ball is hit to you and you can't get the double play, not knowing where to go with the baseball is going to hinder you more so than just getting the one out.
And I don't think if you're the Jaguars you'd want to exchange an out for a insurance run if you get a fielder's choice or one of the other runners out.
And can help it, exactly.
It's basically right down as soon as the last time.
So where Bonilla stands back in. Bunt's coming back. Pugh tries to flip it to Alford to get Smithers, but the speed just too much.
Executed perfectly by the Pacers, who have just absolutely mastered the ABCs in this game. And Blake, I know you love the ABCs, but that was a mental mistake by Pugh, who, because of the suicide squeeze and Smithers running on contact, there was no way they were going to be able to get the out.
Right.
And it probably would have been an easier out to go to first and allow the run to score, as they probably wouldn't have gotten him anyway. And a mental mistake by Pugh, who throws the ball away there.
Well, and not only that, but now we're in this. The Jags are in the same position. Only this time it's Rogers at third base and Bonilla at first.
And same position, exactly the same plan as was discussed during the mound visit before here.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing should change there.
Mm-hmm.
But the out becomes that much more important now.
Mm-hmm.
Can't afford another mental mistake.
If you're the Jags, you want to hold them to 5 because you can deal with a 5-run lead. If it escapes you anymore, the game may get out of reach. Five runs on, I believe, 11 hits for the Pacers.
That is correct.
And the Jags have 5 hits to their credit in today's game.
And I think if you're Pugh, he's thrown over twice to first base. I wouldn't worry about the runner if I were him in this situation at all.
Don't want to lose concentration on the batter,
Absolutely
especially
not.
with Weeks up at the dish. And you've seen what kind of damage he can do throughout this weekend.
Well, if he does what he did in the second inning of yesterday's game, it'll be 8-0. And they get him out? They do, and interestingly enough, Rogers was not running from third on the throwdown. So you wonder if the Pacers missed out on an opportunity for an insurance run there, as they catch Bonilla stealing. Good throw by Alford.
The thing is, too, because Pugh's tall enough to where he could have cut that ball off. If he'd have saw Rogers coming down from third base, he could have cut that ball off, and Rogers would have been caught in a rundown. So 6-1, half a dozen the other there.
And that's why with runners at the corners and less than 2 outs, if you're on third, you got to have good communication between both base coaches and
Right.
your other runner on first base. And you got to be able, there has to be communication, so if you're on third, you got to know if the runner on first is going to be stealing
Right.
on the play.
As right there, that whole conversation is what we were talking about as Rogers comes in on a single. But
The reason why you'd want to know if your runner on first is going to steal is because you want to have, when the pitcher starts his motion and is at the point where if he stops and tries to throw you out, it would be a balk. When he starts his motion, you want to take enough of a lead off of first so that when there's a throwdown, you'd be able to score even if they throw it back home.
that'll be the day for Pugh, only giving up 2 runs in 3 2/3. And we'll continue the conversation on the point of the steal when we come back. right, so just one more point on that steal. Rogers was smart in the sense too that Maddox was undercutting that baseball thrown by Alford to second. If he'd have cut that off, then Rogers would have been dead to rights, and they wouldn't have their 6th run on the board. As it stands now, Ben Parr is the left-handed hurler on the mound to come in and get the final out here in the 9th inning for the Jags. Before they have their chance to make a serious comeback. 6 runs in an inning is doable.
Not easy, but doable. The Pacers with a trio of 2-run innings in this game for their 6-run lead and an average of 2 hits per run scored with 6 runs off of 12 hits.
Any way you slice it, they've been held in check for some innings, but then when they've had runners on base, they've been able to stretch them across and score the runs. Is now Parr just dealing with Pereira, and if he gets on, the cleanup hitter Goings will come to the plate.
Another example of why this is a game of inches with that line foul down the right field line.
That was close. And as scary as that was, it is a loud second strike.
Those balls down the line can go either way. And it's definitely had an effect in this game.
Parr fired. Ground ball to Robertson. Flips it over to Gray at first, and the 9th inning comes to a close. The Jags have to put the pedal to the metal here. Final 3 outs to go in the ball game. They have to score 6. The Pacers elect to bring in hurler Blake Siegler to close out this ball game.
Siegler redshirt freshman from just across the border in North Carolina, all across the border in North Augusta, South Carolina. And now playing for the Jaguars' cross-border rival at USC Aiken. He's 1-0 this season. This is his 12th appearance out of the bullpen. He's got 2 saves, 9 total innings pitched, and an even 2 ERA this season. He was a team MVP as a senior last season, or 2 seasons ago as a senior with North Augusta High School.
Blake is not coming in a save situation, although if the Jaguars do tie this ball game up, he will be on the hook for the loss.
In his 11 appearances, he's only given up 2 earned runs and 7 hits in an even 9 innings of work, which, as a result of 9 innings of work, it's an even 2 ERA. That's how that works in baseball.
It's a tough mountain to climb, but the Jags can climb it.
And talk about the day that we saw from Aragon. No runs off 5 hits in 8 innings. Just outstanding. As the Jaguars have just flat out struggled at the plate throughout this weekend.
Timothy Gray is delivering a good at-bat, though, an even 2-2 count on him. And that ball's skied into right field, opposite field approach. And Goings puts the glove on out number 1. Now Robertson stands in, and Mason takes a strike. High towering pop fly behind the plate, and Pereira puts the squeeze on out number 2. Ty Hobbs is the last hope here for the Jags in the night, as he doesn't like the first pitch at all and just watches it bounce back to the backstop. And that ball is across the dish for the first strike and a 2-1 count. The pitch ensuing. Hobbs swings right through that changeup. Jags down to their last strike. Hobbs gets a curveball and swings over the top of it to conclude the game. So the Pacers come into Lake Olmsted Stadium and sweep the Jags in grand fashion. We've got 14 runs on Friday, 15 runs on Saturday. Then they played across 6 here in today's ball game. Good thing for the Jags, though, the bullpen again stepped up.
Well, it absolutely did, and that's been the bright spot for this series, which really was just a series to forget for the Jaguars as they were swept. And this was definitely the best game they played this season, despite getting shut out 6-0, which really says a lot because of how the way games Friday and Saturday went. But nevertheless, better performance today. Hope to continue to get better on Tuesday and Wednesday next week as they hit the road, and they will greatly benefit from an off weekend next weekend before Georgia College comes to town next weekend for a 3-game series.
Meeks delivers a high-octane quality performance considering how the first 2 games have been, and held this high-powered offense to 4 runs. A very good quality start considering that. And then also commend Cody Pugh for coming in to pitch 3 scoreless shutout innings before giving up that run in the 9th.
Pugh was outstanding, and Meeks pitched well despite the struggles and the lack of run support. Did his job to give the Jaguars a chance in this game as well. And taking a look at what else has gone on around the Peach Belt Conference today, and Blake will give you some scores from around the conference in just a moment and give you an update on the race for the conference tournament and what the picture for that looks like in just a moment.
Yeah, so again, the Jags hold off the onslaught today, and it's a good pitching performance by Matt Meeks, who's done really well on the mound. It's not his best start, but he did really well against this high-powered offense. And you had Blake Siegler for the Pacers coming in to shut down and close this game out for the Pacers. But as we take a look around the league, we've got in the Peach Belt Conference Columbus State edging out in the top half of the 8th inning. Georgia Southwestern 7-4. It's a final in North Georgia. North Georgia comes back and defeats Young Harris by 5. The Francis Marion UNC Pembroke game, the first game, is in the top of the 8th with Francis Marion behind by 1. You see here, this game is 6-0 in favor of USC Aiken. Lander and Georgia College in a good one at Georgia College. 4-1 is your final there. Columbus State and Georgia Southwestern will kick off game 2 at 4 o'clock, as well as UNC Pembroke and Francis Marion. Game number 2 is at 4 o'clock as well. And both of those doubleheaders kick off at 4.
Definitely a great day around the Peach Belt Conference, and definitely look forward down the stretch as the season unfolds what the conference tournament picture will look like. The Pacers with 3 big wins this weekend to improve their chances. They're currently in 4th place going into this weekend, and they're going to keep that position.
They have some tough teams ahead of them though. Columbus State, who we saw early on in the season, Flagler as well, and then as you said, we're yet to see Georgia College, but they are sure to be a handful for the Jags. But that'll do it from here at Lake Olmsted Stadium. Once again, the final score from Lake Olmsted Stadium in the third and the deciding rubber matchup between the Pacers and the Jags. Pacers 6, Jags didn't touch a run on the scoreboard, and we will see you back here next Wednesday when the Jags take on crosstown rivals Payne College.